Good evening and welcome to the Wednesday, February 11th, 2026 Planning Board meeting for the town of Raymond. The board will come to order. We do have a quorum, and we'll start with roll call with you, Jackie.
Jackie Sawyer.
Stephen Clark.
Greg Foster.
Robert O'Neill.
Mike Richmond.
This is a public proceeding, and unless the board specifically votes to go into executive session, you have the right to hear everything that is being said and to look at all the exhibits that are presented. Please notify the chair if you are unable to see or hear. We don't have any applications this evening, but our agenda for the evening is the approval of the minutes for January 7th, a communication from Mr. Ray Richardson, and then two public hearings for ordinance proposals for the cannabis growing operations and for parking, followed by any new business, and welcoming our prospective new member, Jeremy Wilson. Jeremy, are you here? Back seat, huh? All right, I am going to dispense with the rest of this reading because it has to do with applications. Just as a reminder, the public hearing, I'll remind you again, please, and if you were going to address the board, you need to do it from the podium so we get you on the record. First order of business is the minutes for our January 7th. Thanks, Ray.
Yeah, I move that we accept the minutes of January 7th.
Is there a second?
I second that.
Second, any discussion? All those in favor? 401. Abstention? Okay. Next is our communications from Mr. Ray Richardson, who wrote the board requesting a site walk. Ms. Richard, we don't do site walks to look at neighboring properties. We only do a site walk for an application, and we are invited to do that site walk on that particular property. We don't do site walks kind of outside of that, outside of the actual application that is for us to view. It's not in our, it's nothing that we can actually do. So, I mean, I understand why you're asking for it, but it's not something that, I understand why you're asking. We'll probably we'll maybe get to it more when we do the ordinance for the marijuana, but I would like to be able to give you some direction as to how to go for that, but I don't really know, to be honest with you. Is anyone on board? Great. Yeah.
We've never done anything like that. No. And I know of.
To be honest with you, it's one of those things, pass the football to the selectmen, because I don't really know, and they'll probably pass it to someone else, but I don't really know where to steer you on that one. Okay, our old business is first is the proposed ordinance change for the cannabis growing operations. Brett, would you give us the intro and the rundown and the summary?
Sure, yep. So this is something we've worked on for the past few months. And legal has reviewed what's within this packet as well, and legal has given their blessing. So, but what we're looking at doing here is adding in some more definitions related to indoor cultivation, sun-grown cultivation, sun-grown cultivators, and really just trying to differentiate those different types of growing operations and uses. We also discussed and looked at where those types of terms, how they're defined, which zoning districts they would be permitted, prohibited, or conditionally permitted within there. So that is also contained within the packet this evening. And then we're also looking at adding a few more performance standards for the medical cannabis cultivation facilities. So with what we're looking at there, obviously we are not an opt-in town, so we are permitted to act under state statute With what we have in here, we're looking at implementing some setbacks for front, rear, and side yards based on the quantity of plants. So just again, high level here, if you are between 0 to 49 plants, that would be a 50-foot setback from your front, side, and rear. If you are between the range of 50 and 99, we'd be looking at a 100-foot setback. And then for 100 or more, we'd be looking at 150 feet. So we also, for all enclosed building structures utilized for the cannabis cultivation, we'd be looking at implementing forms of odor control to hopefully prevent that odor from passing on to adjacent properties. So that's the gist.
Thanks. Jason, could you just talk a second about what it means to be a conditional use for a particular area?
A conditional use requires a zoning board of appeals application. There's a set of 6 or 7 kind of guidelines that follows, site visit generally, and then, a discussion on whether it, is going to fit in the location that it's being proposed.
So every conditional use then is going to go to the zoning board of appeals?
Yep.
Okay. Board have any questions? Okay.
Well, wait.
Go ahead, Jackie.
I guess, is what's in here, we either are like yay or nay, or,
Yes.
okay,
Yeah, it's
okay.
yeah.
All right.
You can do happy for glad.
Well, the quantities, I think, are something that I would want to revisit or possibly make an amendment to for the setbacks, just because, 0 to 40, 49 plants is really a significant amount for outdoors, and I can't imagine that a 50-foot setback with a fence is going to make much of a difference. I thought we were kind of leaning more towards trying to limit what was outdoors and open to, the elements with smells and odors, possibly affecting abutters. So I don't know, those numbers, all the numbers kind of in the quantities seem high to me. I would like to see lower thresholds there.
What would you propose, Jackie? Because I think we could probably do that.
I would say maybe for the 50-foot setback, like 0 to 12 plants, 13 to 24 for the next level, and then 25 plus. It's because they get 6 for medical growing, right? And adult gets 6.
So that's difference.
Right. This is just for caregivers.
This is medical
This-
only.
But is it medical? Medical, you can have up to 6 plants per. No.
No, caregivers can have, I don't know exactly, but quite a few plants per patient.
Okay.
And they can have multiple patients, which means they could have 100 plants if they had the patients to cover it, versus a non-patient.
Or personal use.
It's personal use, you're right,
3
that's
or
6
6 per
plants.
person.
Okay.
Yeah.
My thought is even, at the 25 plant mark, you're going to get some significant sort of odors coming off of that, my thought was that in that sort of a case, we would want to see it enclosed or odor scrubbers or something along those lines, so it's not affecting abutters quite so much.
Okay, so 0 to 12 for that first threshold, 13 to 24 plants for that second, and then 25 or more for that third for 150 feet. Okay.
Yeah. That's what I proposed.
Yes, I think we probably could adjust the numbers. Now,
Yeah, it's not like an actual,
so
in my opinion, not like an actual.
change to the verbiage of wording, or it's just it is a significant change.
No, it's not like a substantial, like we're adding an entirely new section or
Or changing
new
a-
term or
right.
definition or anything like that. It's more of and how we're classifying it.
And I guess my question to that would be, is this plant count for sunrooms and open spaces, or is it just open spaces and then the sunrooms have air? Because obviously you can't have an air scrubber if you're growing outdoors, but you can have an air scrubber if you're using a greenhouse. So how, I guess that's one question I have too, is how, there's going to be a big difference between 12 plants outside versus 12 plants in an enclosed space. Does there need to be an adjustment in count if they're grown indoors with air scrub and hitting all the check marks as far as air scrubbers and stuff?
So I think, so you're talking about like a reduction in setback if it's indoors and with a carbon scrubber?
No, I'm just the difference between obviously they're both sun grown, but one being technically all outside and one having an enclosure that can be a little bit more controlled. Is there a difference in quantity that should be looked at between those two types of growing techniques? Because in one aspect, they are taking care of the odor, but in the other aspect, they're not, but they're allowed the same amount of plants. So I don't know if we can add just something between with air scrubbers, without air scrubbers?
Where are you now in the, down under odor control, section 2?
Well, no, I'm just saying the amount of plants that you would grow in the two different environments.
Is this table applicable only to the sun-grown cultivation? I think
Says
is what you're
indoor.
asking, or
Yeah,
or
this also includes the indoor.
So yeah, so it is. It's putting that group all into one versus
It is, yep.
being where in Mr. Richardson's case, the plants could half of them might be outside, half of them might be inside, but they can grow the same amount in both places. Even though the air scrubbers are taking care of some of that odor.
Right, subject that they meet the setbacks, obviously. Yep.
So I guess my question is, should we add some type of wording that it says if you have air scrubbers and you're enclosed, would there be an exception in the quantity? Or is that getting a little too
So you'd be
convoluted?
Granting more plants if they had odor
If you
scrubbing.
have the air scrubbers, right?
Well, we already require all enclosed building structures
To have it anyway.
odor scrubbing anyways. So I don't know that that would necessarily,
Effective.
yeah, be, like something that could help increase their threshold.
I was just thinking down the road, I'm sure that's something Jason's gonna listen to is, hey, I can grow 12 plants in here for the same amount of money. I can grow 12 plants outside and not need it. And you got the neighbors that can't really say anything because it's right here versus having air scrubbers inside with that many plants. Because I think honestly, anything over 20 plants, doesn't matter if you're 50, 100, 150, you're gonna smell it.
Right, yep, and I think that's where we had discussed a little bit, and I think we went back and forth, but where we landed last meeting was the all enclosed building structures, so not just enclosed by a fence on the property, but, because obviously odor scrubbing with a fence just isn't effective.
Yeah.
But it's all enclosed building structures. This is something I talked to Phil about as well, to make sure that we covered that. There wasn't that loophole necessarily, but the actual building itself would contain the carbon scrubbing.
Okay.
If I may, I would actually support that a lot, because to me, it's almost like we would need, excuse me, two different charts, right? One for indoor, because indoor would be controlled, and one for outdoor. And in a way, to me, if there's a large difference, like you mentioned, it would encourage people,
To grow
I
in.
can grow more plants if I'm inside, less impact to the neighbors. So I think it would be an incentive to get people to grow more plants inside in a controlled environment.
Yep.
And if there's a drastic difference between the two, yes, I could go grow my 10 plants outside, but I can grow a lot more inside. So, just a thought.
Yep, yeah, because we already require all sun-grown and indoor to be either conducted within a fully enclosed structure, so an actual building or a fence surrounding the property, and then setbacks for all the plants or that structure would meet that, what this chart is describing here.
And doing some homework on that, I know that there's really good scrubbing systems for indoor, very effective, not for outdoor. Honestly, I'm not trying to be a wise guy. The vegetation, fences,
Yeah.
that's nothing.
Right.
it really does nothing.
But the sun-grown, if I'm, correct me if I'm wrong, but it can be in a fully enclosed structure, but let's say you could like open the roof up or the you know, like it's not like it's sealed. I mean, you're still getting sunlight to
Yeah, it's
grow.
transparent roof system.
Okay,
yeah.
but do some of these structures,
Some of them
Open?
have air breathers, yeah, but again, if you had air scrubbers, part of I would think some of that requirement would be contained to keep it enclosed. That means you're not opening 5-foot windows to let the air come through there with it. I don't know how that would go on an inspection side of things.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at our definitions, you know, like enclosure doesn't specifically say like a building, you know, a fence qualifies, you know, something that's protecting, enclosing,
Mm-hmm.
private property.
So there would need to be some wording then that says it has to be in a greenhouse with a roof, like more specific.
yeah, I would be comfortable saying if there, you know, that there are different thresholds for without air scrubbers and natural ventilation and natural sunlight versus fully enclosed air scrubbers. You know,
Plant count with air scrubbers versus without air scrubbers, whether it's indoor or outdoor, I guess.
So we're talking about making a second chart then, one for where it's truly like outdoors versus, I guess, what would the board's feedback be on the setbacks then if it is within like an enclosed carbon scrubbed?
I think your original numbers are probably
Yeah.
fine.
So it's more so just clarifying that this chart applies to both?
This chart would apply to, I would say maybe one more column and differentiate the quantity of plants between enclosed with air scrubbers versus not.
Fully enclosed with air scrubbers, yeah, because like you said, that as far as the definition goes, they can say a fence is an enclosure.
Right.
Can we use the word structure, which is clearly,
Enclosed structure.
Well, I guess this is where I'm a little confused, and apologies. So within the actual, that number 1 bullet point, we have that they shall be conducted either within a fully enclosed structure or fence surrounding the property. So,
So we need to get rid of the fence portion and you just have full
So
enclosed
then
structure.
that basically that prohibits outdoor growing.
Well, no, we would have a plant count just for outdoor growing. So they'd have a plant count for the inside the structure and the plant count for the outside of the structure, because that's gonna control the odor.
would the thresholds for plants be different then, based upon the type of
Yes.
growing then, is what we're talking about?
Yes. So like your column here, one column labeled outdoor grow, no structure, no air scrubbers. Second column, structured, fully enclosed with air scrubbers. You can more than double your plant count.
So that for conditional use, it has to be enclosed.
Fully,
They need to enclose it anyways by state law.
yeah.
by structure of fence.
But the
But
diff,
enclosed, I mean, yeah, it
Yes,
could be a
right.
fence,
It
and
just has
that's
to be a
not
fence, but it has to be.
gonna
so
control.
in that second table column, it could, that, we could parenthesize the fence part for the outdoor grow versus the full enclosure for the interior grow with air scrubbers. That's my thought.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I see now. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. What, I guess, would we carry over what's in there now and put that as the indoor plant threshold then?
Right, yeah, what
Setbacks
you
there?
currently wrote, yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's good.
Yeah,
So for outdoor, it's 0 to 12, 13 to 24, more than 25. Indoor, it's 0 to 49, 50 to 99, 100 or more.
Right.
Same setbacks?
yeah.
Do we want to, I mean, just another thought since we're, do we want to put a cap on outdoor numbers as far as we don't, yeah, they could be on a big lot, but again, if you have 100 plants and you're only on a 7 or 8 acre lot and everyone else around you is on a 3 or 4 acre lot, it's going to be pretty easy to determine where all that stuff is. If we put a max on the outdoor versus the enclosed.
You mean like no, not to exceed 100 plants?
Not to exceed more than 50 plants outside.
Outside.
Yeah. without a full enclosure.
Yeah.
Like 50 plants is a ton of plants.
And that even seems excessive to me personally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree,
That's a
but I
lot of
don't,
plants
also don't want to be
planting.
overly restrictive to,
Right.
Within
You know.
150 feet of a neighbor, that's a lot of plants.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we're changing the quantity of plants for the outdoors as well?
Yes.
Yeah, so the
Yeah.
quantity wouldn't change for fully enclosed with air scrubbers.
Right.
It would only, we would include this lower rate for if it were sun-grown with fencing.
But wasn't it 25? Oh, I see, because right now it's 25 plus, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
So we want
At our
to-
150 mark, we have just 25 plus, which leaves infinite amount of,
Yep,
So it'd be capped at 50, so it'd go from that third threshold, if you will, 25 to 50. And then I think I might have to bounce this off of Phil
yeah, we are.
about the, that language to cap it, like in, like kind of how we have that footnote for number 1. Maybe it's like in no such case shall
right.
threshold exceed, all that legal
Yeah.
language, so.
And I
Okay.
guess, I mean, again, 150 feet is not very much. Should we talk about maybe bringing that more to a 200 mark for if you're gonna go up to 100 or up to 50 plants? 150 feet's not a couple telephone poles.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So 250?
I like 250. I mean, we use 250 on all the water side stuff.
Mhm.
It's kind of a common number.
Okay. Okay.
So the way this would be written, is there a cap on how many plants somebody could have indoors? It just says 100 or more.
I mean,
Is that,
if,
I just don't know if that's okay for an enforcement point.
right.
If you walked into a house and it had
If,
1,000 plants, is this?
if you want my honest opinion, if someone's growing it indoors and they have all their carbon scrubbing stuff, I don't care how many plants there are, if it doesn't smell.
If it doesn't smell.
Yeah.
As long as you're legal.
I don't want to have to go into somebody's house to count plants.
Gotcha.
I'm mostly concerned about the outdoor. The indoor, if I've not got a complaint about indoor.
I feel like that'll make your job easier too if they hit all their check marks as far as taking on complaints.
Let the state handle it.
Right.
That's what I
Mhm.
say. It's less for me to do. Outdoor, I can see it from outside, or I can smell it from outside, and I know if I can look on Google Earth and I can see it.
Right.
It's pretty straightforward.
Anything else on the board?
Sorry, Brett.
No, don't apologize to me.
All right.
I think it's good stuff. I think this might be reaching that point where it might be substantial
Yeah.
enough where we have to maybe have another public hearing technically, but I
We'll
don't
see.
feel bad about it necessarily. It's good stuff, and we want to make sure we get it right. It's
Yeah.
important, so. So I guess just to recap for my own clarification real quick.
Good.
So separating out that current column that says quantity of plants to 2 different columns now, one for outdoor versus indoor. And I'll make sure the language actually matches how we're defining it, just to make sure that's clear cut. But for that outdoor column, let's just call it, the 3 different thresholds would be 0 to 12, 13 to 24, and then 25 to 50. There might be a footnote added depending on what legal has to say about certain legalese language there. Then for the indoor column, the 0 to 49, 50 to 99, and then 100 or more. And then changing that bottom row for the front, rear, and side setbacks for that largest threshold, changing 150 feet setback up to 250 feet.
Good?
Okay.
Yep.
Good. Okay. I'm going to open the public hearing on this in a second. I just now, with a caveat, I think the board is all in agreement with the changes, and I think we want to see those changes go through. We're tasked with the ordinance proposed changes to get them to the select board at their next meeting. The way the ordinance proposed changes come out of the planning board is after the public hearing on it. It's a yes, it's a vote to not to send it to the selectmen. It's a vote to send it to the selectmen without a recommendation, or it's a vote to send it to the selectmen with a recommendation. Because the proposed ordinances that reach us at this stage have been viewed by legal and have blessed it so that it can get turned into a warrant for the selectmen, we don't have the option of very much of any really significant change. You know, we can do the happy for glad, but we can't do a significant change. The changes that the board is proposing right now, in my opinion, going to borderline on whether or not that is a significant change or not. So the implications to that are, following the public hearing, we will proceed along the lines of that they are not a significant change. And we'll vote one way or the other to send this package as it's changed to the selectmen for including into the town vote in June. If in fact the legal comes back and says, no, that's a significant change, we would then be required to have another public hearing based upon that change. That would be in the March hearing, the March Planning Board, which is after where the Planning Board has been tasked with getting all of the ordinance changes, proposed ordinance changes, to the selectmen. So we run the risk, one way or the other, if legal comes back and says it's a significant change, and the selectmen say, no, the package has to be to us for that March meeting, because they've got their public hearings to be held, then this ordinance would not get put on for a vote in June, but it would go to the following June, where the next time for the public hearing, unless the selectmen would decide to have a special meeting specifically to vote on that. So I just want to let everyone know that's where we stand. And I can't tell you whether or not it's going to be a significant change or not. It very well could be. I think if it is, we will try to see if the selectmen will allow us to get it in later than the cutoff, but there's no guarantee that in fact it's going to happen. Okay, so with that good news, I'll open the public hearing. If you would like to speak on this, please do so. Go to the podium, state your name and address, and how you feel about the proposal.
Hi, David Brown from Tenny Hill Road. I just wanted to go down through what I've read in here with a few comments about it. I've written to the planning board 3 times, twice last year about this, and just recently about this. I wrote to
Sandy.
your manager.
Sandy.
And okay, so
Yeah.
and I've requested a response but didn't get one, and I haven't had responses for anything else. So, but one of the things I brought up. So starting right out, cultivation, 100 amps, and when the state person came in to your board, he clarified that the language you have in there, in his opinion at least, what he said was that seems to have been copied from something that the state legislature was looking at many months ago, and they had already abandoned that. And what I said to you was, amperes isn't really a legitimate measurement of power, because it depends on the voltage. And if you have you're talking 120, 240, 208, 460. It varies a lot. And so you really probably ought to be putting that in kilowatts, I would say, or kVA is the, whatever. You might talk to an electrical engineer, but I think kilowatts would be a reasonable thing because we know how many watts a lamp uses. And so I think that's something you could enforce and that people could design to. But 100 amps, it would vary by the part of town you're in, how much you could grow.
Well,
So I'd like you to look at that. And that comes up again in the sun-grown thing down below. And the sun-grown, actually, I was curious about that because you gave them the same amperes threshold, or you jumped right over that. You're pivoting around that threshold, but it seems like sun-grown maybe would be significantly different. Maybe it would be 50 amperes or whatever. It would be how you would classify sun-grown, but it seems like why would you classify them right on that line? I don't know. It seems strange. Just wanted to mention at the bottom, when you talk about the opt-in thing, I would suggest that we come up with an ordinance. It's too late now, I guess, but from what you've described, but an ordinance that's a adult use establishment ordinance, and just say right in there, we have not opted in, and then you wouldn't have to mention it here. And this is so indirect as a place to put it in. I think if you had an adult use ordinance, and then someday that could be changed, so we could decide to opt in, but it would say we have not opted in, and not sneak it into this one. I wanted to mention the plant quantity. I think you ought to be in line with the medical caregiver law and the licensing that goes on, because I believe that similar to the recreational marijuana that I could grow, there's a difference between mature plants and the starter plants. And I think what you're concerned about is the mature plants that are flowering and make the smell. And so I think this ought to state mature plants in some simple manner, so that, you could read the state law about that and see how that works. You wouldn't have to necessarily say anything about the immature seedlings or anything. You would just say mature plants, and that's what you would count. Also too late to talk about the odor control and the setbacks, but it seems to me that there are systems. I mean, you can go online and for just a couple $100 you can buy something that calls itself a scrubber, but that's not what we want. I don't trust any of that. I think there's activated carbon charcoal systems that could really be counted on, but the way this is worded, it seems like someone has to buy something and then try it out, and then someone's going to come and smell it and see if they like it. And maybe we could have some guidelines. Maybe if it's not in the ordinance, it goes into some policy or something to have researched that and find out what people should be using.
The air scrubbers are per square foot. So on an enclosed area, you get X amount of CFM per square foot. So that would all have to be calculated for their building size.
Yeah. But I mean, it's like you buy a vacuum cleaner and it says it has a HEPA filter, but I don't trust that compared to a real HEPA filter, and I don't trust some carbon thing that you stick in your air filter, your HVAC air filter for your car. You can get those with carbon. Yeah, that doesn't do anything. So I just be mindful of that, I guess, as to what the technology should be for this. And then when you do get a good scrubber, I actually think these setbacks are overly restrictive. I don't see why somebody needs to be 150 feet away if they've got a scrubber that works. And I think 150 feet really restricts the lots. As has been mentioned, you know what the minimum road frontages are. I live out in the rural residential zone, and the minimum frontage is 225. That's what the developer gave everybody. So everybody's got a lot that's 225 feet wide. You wouldn't even be able to use that. And it's one of the most rural parts of town, unless you had some big lot. So I just think that I agree totally with what you said about separating outdoor grow and indoor grow and having a different table for that, and that makes total sense to me. But these numbers seemed appropriate for outdoor, and maybe the indoor doesn't have to be 150 feet, but I think we're past that point perhaps. But and I am concerned about the notion of perceivable odors and how enforceable that is. That seems it depends on the sensitivity of the person. I wish there were some technology to smell and measure it, but I don't suppose there is.
We do too.
Smellology.
Thanks.
They do make something called a nasal ranger.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know how effective it is, but there is a
Probably
tool.
put one on higher. You can carry one of those, Jason? Diesel radar.
It's probably an expensive piece of kit. I don't want to carry it around.
Ray Richardson, 84 Tenny Hill Road. Nice to be here again. First of all, not all lots on Tenny Hill are 225, Dave. My neighbor's lot's 200. Okay, that's just to clarify that. I like Jackie's suggestion. It's kind of like a compromise. Before they were able to grow 36 plants and the smell was overwhelming. So 49 plants isn't going to make a difference. 12 plants isn't going to make much of a difference, especially when Vern said that these plants get to be 10 feet high, 10 feet wide, and you got 12 plants. The smell is just going to be the same as overwhelming. My thought is this, is why do we want marijuana grown in residential neighborhoods where families are trying to raise their children? Now, I was young at one time, believe it or not. In mischief, when I was 14, I said, oh, let's go raid the cornfields or whatever. What do you think these 14-year-olds or 12-year-olds are going to be doing up on Tenny Hill some night? They go, oh, let's go raid the pot farm over next door. I mean, we really need to have a caregiver who can grow inside, have an outside grow that he can grow 150 plants. I mean, seriously. Now, I don't know if you remember what Vern said, but he said recreational, these guys can have friends that can come over and grow 6 plants, 6 plants, 6 plants, 6 plants. And before you know it, they'll be up over the 150 anyways. Now, my neighbor recently purchased the house across the street where he's living now, and he's turning the house right next to me into his growing facility and his business facility. So he doesn't even live there anymore, but it's all marijuana growing operation right now. So I'm really, like I said, I am understanding of his right to grow his marijuana, but I think marijuana on a residential neighborhood should be grown inside. I don't think there's a necessary reason for somebody to be able to grow in a residential neighborhood, especially these lot size. Now, I don't know if you folks, where you live, would want somebody to grow 150 plants next to you. So, and as far as the smell, there's nothing you're going to be able to do outside for smell. Nothing. Nothing at all. I'm going to be having a heart operation here in the spring. Hey, I had letters from my doctors, but Sandy told me I couldn't submit them to you folks. It's not understandable. It's personal. But I just want to enjoy my property. That's all I want to do. I'm not trying to be here tonight to make a riff of what somebody else's rights are. I think they have their rights, and I have my rights. I just want to enjoy my property. I moved to Raymond, Maine after serving in the Navy, working on nuclear weapons. I get exposed to the stuff. It gave me a lot of problems. I'm dealing with those problems. My neighbor, on the other hand, and I sent you all the video, from New Jersey. No, not that that makes a difference. He was shopping, even before marijuana became legal, he was shopping states to see where the most lenient laws were so he could have his operation
Because
here.
Richard, you gotta really kind of stick to the ordinance.
Okay. Okay. I guess I don't have anything else to say then.
Okay.
You guys cutting it off on that? It is the ordinance, so is it?
I'm sorry?
It is part of the ordinance, really, is it?
No, not people, where they come from and,
No, I'm not
Right.
saying so much where they come from. I'm saying that he was growing even before it became legal.
yeah, well, that's not, no, that's not part of the ordinance.
All right, that's all I got to say then.
All right. Anyone else?
My name is Julie Rockwell Sutherland. I live on Ledge Hill Road. You guys seem to be doing a lot of bypassing of state laws pertaining to the cannabis, outdoor growing and indoor growing. There's numbers that you guys have tripled to what is required for state requirements. I have them both here. Cultivation, wastewater, none of that's been mentioned. And as someone who is disabled, who suffers from chronic migraines, who has TBI, I've had to deal with this cannabis issue from a next door neighbor. I know what Ray feels like. Him being a veteran, he's been elderly, him being disabled, I had to deal with it. You guys didn't want to help me? You guys laughed at his face. Do you know there are laws pertaining to secondhand smoke and smell for cigarettes and cannabis in the state of Maine? It took me 5 calls to the sheriff's because the guy next door to us was smoking. First it was, he was harassing my service dog. I had to deal with that. Then it was, he was smoking, and I'm gonna tell you, I don't know what it was. I couldn't even sit on my porch. I have 2 horses. It even bothered my horses. It bothered my dogs. Couldn't open the windows. I couldn't sit on my porch. So I finally got it. And there's also a nuisance law for invading the smoke and the smell, invading the property, that you can sue the property owner. And that's what I threatened. So now the guy has to smoke on the other end of his house in a screened-in porch, or he has to smoke in his house. You guys are giving no care to the people of residence. You're giving no care to the children in this area. My grandsons come up, they were here today. Yeah, they're 15 and 20, but I don't want them around it. I don't want somebody growing 10-foot cannabis plants. I have a cousin that has a cannabis farm. Makes more money than you guys ever thought of. Outdoor grow. Big 6-foot fences, state required. He is 6'6". And his plants are taller than he is, wider than he, 10 foot. I have another friend we have another friend who grows, has a huge farm down in southern Maine. Outdoor grow. Same thing. They use fans on their properties, they have 6-foot fences, they put netting up. You guys aren't addressing any of those issues. You aren't addressing any of the issues for the residents that have breathing problems, chronic migraine problems, heart problems, disabled, or children. And there is stipulation pertaining to the smell and smoking around children. There's state laws pertaining to whether you own the land, whether you have written permission, or it's domicile. You guys haven't mentioned any of that. You guys have not done your homework. Not hard to find, not hard to research. All you have to do is have a brain. And it doesn't seem that any of you are using it.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else?
Craig Messenger, 342 Raymond Hill Road. Mr. O'Neill, correct me if I'm wrong. I think the last time we went through a similar situation with a lot of people with a lot of passion was the solar ordinance a few years back.
Yep.
And at that point, I think the BOS determined that we need to get an ordinance through. I know I'm going to hear from a couple people on it. But please be careful, be patient. I think they decided we get this ordinance through. We can recommend changes next year. The town can, or you folks can,
Correct.
or the select board can. But you can't do that if the ordinance isn't passed at all. So I would suggest for everyone just be level-headed. Let's try and get this through this time around, and then we can tweak it, make changes, look at what these folks are concerned with, and move forward. That's my suggestion. Thank you.
Anybody else like to speak? As long as you're fast. You only usually get one shot.
David Brown, Tenny Hill Road. I just want to reassure people that someone has mentioned about whether you've done your homework. And this is a medical marijuana, a medical cannabis growers ordinance. There, you are entitled under the state law to do something locally about home growing for personal use. There is, you have some ability to limit that, I think. Not much, but some. You may, it seems to me, reading the law, that you might be able to, it says people need, you can restrict it, as long as you don't restrict it beyond people who are domiciled. You might be able to restrict friends who don't live there, something like that. So that would be something you could consider in the future.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right, I'm going to close the public hearing on marijuana issue.
Is there anybody online that wanted to?
Oh, I didn't check. I don't see the hands. Good call, though. Back to the board. So our option is not to proceed with the ordinance, to proceed with the ordinance to the selectmen with a recommendation, or without a recommendation. Anybody have any thoughts?
I do just want to also say that I think this is a good starting point, and this is something, again, that we can, yes, come back to and make changes to and add to and strengthen as time goes on. But I think what we've got here is a good start, and it's something, and it gives us some teeth, and it sets some restrictions. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, and we have heard, I mean, we this is at least our fourth month, if not longer, on this topic at meetings, and we've heard from a number of individuals from the other side that it's to that have their right, that have a right under the law to grow their plants. We had the state come down, and they reaffirmed that they had a right. And one of the things that we have looked for, nobody could actually give it to us, and we've kind of hit upon it tonight, is that the plants give off a sulfur-based oil that is rather odorous. But there is no one that can tell us, a plant gives off this much, and it travels this far. I mean, there's no data for that around. So we have no way of limiting or restricting based upon the odor, because we have no data as to what that odor is. So I think, to Jackie's point, is we're trying, and I'll be first to tell you the numbers are kind of arbitrary because, again, we have no data. But it is something that we get an ordinance in place. We have a set of conditions, as Jason described to you earlier. The conditional uses means that the individual that is going to grow under this ordinance is going to have to get a conditional use permit, and is going to have to convince the Zoning Board of Appeals that they're meeting the ordinance as it's written. And then going forward, if we find out that we need to modify it, we certainly can do that. But that's where we are right now with this one. And I mean, I appreciate everyone coming. We've had a number of people that on this, as I said, for about 4 or 5 months that have come and have talked about this ordinance. So, not from you, can I get a recommendation from one of you guys as to what to do?
I motion to send this with approval to the select board for approval.
Recommending approval.
Recommending approval, yes.
I'll second.
Second. Is there any other discussion? All right, all those in favor? And you're an abstention. Okay. On to parking. Brett, you're up again.
All right, thanks. Again, this is more of a clarification item than anything. So, as the board is aware, we have discussed and sent off the draft short-term rental ordinance to the select board. Within that actual ordinance document, though, we do make an external reference to our land use ordinance in terms of off-street parking. So what this is looking to do is update our land use ordinance in two different areas. The first is our parking standards. We added the short-term rental to that group along with other tourist homes, boarding or lodging facilities, motels or hotels. So we're adding the short-term rental or parking standards that would apply to short-term rentals would fall under that category. And then we're also copying, pasting the definition of a short-term rental over into the land use ordinance as well. That's it. Pretty simple.
Pretty simple.
So.
Any comments? Questions?
Good as written.
Good as written, good as written.
Let's see.
All right, I'll open the public hearing on our changes to our parking regulations. Does anyone like to talk to it?
Hi, Todd Roma, Raymond Hill Road. Mr. Chair, I just wanted to get a little bit grounded. I think you had mentioned it before, but in terms of, we're back here for the STR piece, which prior to you going to the select board, it was voted on 4-1 not to recommend. Now,
No, it was voted on to recommend, but not to move with a recommendation. We forwarded it to the selectmen, right? But we forwarded it without a recommendation. It's not that we forwarded it not recommended.
okay, I thank you for the clarification. I don't think that was all that clear when it was mentioned in the meetings, and we did have quite a few people at the time. So I just
Yeah, it's always a confusing spot.
Yeah.
Point there.
Yeah, and you had just mentioned the three options like for the marijuana of
Right.
no without recommendation and recommendation.
Right.
It seemed a little bit different than what you were just mentioning, though.
No, same thing.
Same thing?
Yep.
Okay. Well, thanks for the clarification. I'd just like to ask, how do we expect this STR initiative to be moving? Is this going to be something, decided upon by the Board of Selectmen, or is this going to final vote?
Oh, no, it'll go to a vote.
Okay.
Yeah. They, both, every ordinance proposed changes that leaves here goes to the selectmen.
Yeah.
The selectmen then hold a public hearing, and they decide whether or not to put it on to for a vote. But none of it is approved at the select
At the
level.
Select Board
Yeah.
level? Okay. Thank you for that clarification.
You're welcome. Going once? Peter, you're awfully quiet.
Too late.
All right, can I get a motion?
I make a motion to forward this on to the select board with a recommendation
For approval?
for approval.
Second?
I second that motion.
Steve? Any discussion? All those in favor? 401. Did I skip over this?
No, I think you're
The bylaws.
Yeah, I think we did.
We're
The ordinance,
business, the
the-
board member guy, right?
Oh, the bylaws.
The bylaws.
Yep.
Did I skip over that somewhere?
It's
No, it's not there.
next.
It's 4C, is that in there?
Old business?
I think it's on the agenda.
I thought it was on the agenda.
It's on the online version of the agenda.
Okay, good. That counts.
Okay.
Can
And
we
it was
call
in the
new
packet
business?
online.
We'll call it new business. So So you have a list of the revisions to the bylaws. The bylaws have never been, see, there's been one revision to the bylaws for as long as I've been on here. Who did this? Who, I know, Peter, I know you brought it to our attention, but you didn't produce this document, did you?
No, that was me.
That was you. Okay, Sammy.
Sandy.
That's why you have the page that explains what they were, and the one that shows what was,
Yep.
and the one that shows what is, or should be.
Have you seen this? Okay. So is any comments on our proposed changes?
No, everything. Nope. There is no Lake Region Weekly, so there's no sense in having
It's
that.
kind of
either.
Yeah. I think Peter mentioned some of it in that we were not in accordance with our bylaws, which we
Yep.
really should be.
Correct, and that's what made me go through all of them, and I discussed it with Glenn as I was making the changes.
Okay? Well, I'm fine with it. Fine, fine.
Fine.
All right?
I'll move to adopt the new amended planning board bylaws,
Sounds good.
whatever.
All right, so the revisions as presented to the bylaws have been, motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Jackie's on the second. Any other discussion? I knew we couldn't get through the meeting.
Uh-oh.
811 Tulare Road, it's not to be nitpicky as far as where the announcements are made, but it is, I know, and I know you're aware, important that all of those type of situations be clarified, because it does put you in a vulnerable situation as far as notice is concerned. And the one question I had was relevant to a previous comment. When I was reading through the bylaws, and I have to tell you, they're as good as any bylaws I've seen in any committee or board anywhere around here. So it's very comprehensive, and it's well worded. But what I would say is that a lot of what is considered in the bylaws is how votes are made, and the process and the like. I did not find, and maybe I missed it, but I didn't find it anywhere in the discussion in the bylaws anything about approving ordinances to go to the selectmen, and specifically that you can send it with a recommendation, with no recommendation, or do not recommend. And I was just curious if that was an oversight, or if that was intentional to not put that in the bylaws. I know that it really falls under taking a vote. So
Yeah.
it may just be covered by your process for voting. But I just thought that might be something to consider for future revisions. Thanks.
Might not be a bad idea, because it's a confusing point for lots of people.
Bob, that's more procedural overall, not something for your bylaws.
Robert's Rules of Order.
Robert's Rules of Order?
Is that wrong?
At any rate, yes, I agree with you.
In the bylaws for the
You talk too long, they're going to yell at you.
zoning board of appeals, it's in their bylaws.
It is? This is, okay, go ahead. You got to be quick, though, because we're not really taking a public comment on this.
Oh, you are? Oh, okay.
No,
Well,
go ahead.
just, we've been through an election recently where we recalled somebody for embarrassing somebody and having a loud conversation. And you folks are elected, you're subject to the recall, I believe.
We are not elected.
Oh, you're not elected, I'm
Nope.
sorry, you're
No.
appointed.
Appointed.
We-
But none-
They pick us off the street, and they
Okay.
send us in here, and
Okay.
here we are.
Yep, well,
Yep.
lucky you.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, I would suggest that you might in the future consider something about how you behave, how you, just, the selectmen have something in their bylaws, which.
We are
you know,
such a congenial
sadly,
group.
they don't, I
We
beg your
don't
pardon?
really need to do that.
You-
We just get along so well.
Well,
There
yeah.
really is no reason
Yeah.
to do that. All right, thank you, Mr. Brown.
But there is something in terms of how you deal with the public and how the public deals with you and the kind of things the public says, and perhaps following on to the cannabis thing, there's been some things said and posted and repeated that I think that targeted a particular individual, and I think you could have a policy to rein that in some sense. That's all.
Okay. We have a motion. It was seconded? Jackie seconded? All those in favor? Done. Mike's first official vote since returning.
Yeah.
All right. Jeremy, we scared you away? No. Excellent. Thank you for volunteering, by the way. Do you have any questions for us? And you really need to go to the podium. If you just, sorry.
No, Jeremy Wilson, 1 Colonial Drive. No, I don't have any questions. I've just been a lifelong resident and just figured it was time to get involved and wanted to join the board, do something. That's
Excellent.
all. So, been here since '79 and want to make sure we continue to be Raymond. That's
You know
all.
how it works, right? We kind of, perfect, okay, with the ordinance. Some people think that we're here to decide whether or not we like something or not.
No. You only put forth, I think that's been explained tonight here.
Okay.
So, yeah, no, that's about it.
All right, so in the process, unless somebody has a objection, the process would be we'll put your name for the selectmen. Sometimes they like to see your face, sometimes I think they just kind of approve it.
Yep.
After that, you've got to go take the oath down to the office, and hopefully you'll be a member by next meeting.
Okay, perfect.
Sandy, did they want to see him at the select meeting?
No one mentioned anything. I will check with Mel tomorrow, and I will let Jeremy know.
Okay.
That's good. Thank you.
Do you have, I'm sorry, do you have any questions? You don't have any questions, Jeremy? Yeah? No,
We don't have to vote, no.
no, we don't have to vote.
So.
All right, staff communications. Where are we on the project that's working?
The big one,
The
the
big one.
48 one.
Yeah.
Sounds like that one's gonna take a while. I think, didn't they say the state was taking a while in some of their?
DEP's a little behind these days. It's been taking, at least like for our firm, over a year, sometimes for site law projects. So there are some ways that he could expedite it, if he seeks like a third-party stormwater engineering review type thing. So it could be a little sooner, but we had our site walk, so I think he's got some engineering to do, figure out some of the design, and then maybe in the next few months see preliminary type plan. But obviously wouldn't be issuing final approval until DEP gives their blessing. So
I did see something came across for they still have it named Pine Ridge, the one for Brandon Chase on the 12
Road.
lot one that we had a sketch
Yep.
plan forever ago now.
That was a long time.
But I think they're slowly getting to the point for the next step. And then we had an application come in for a small project over Chipman Farms, a small expansion over there. And I think that's the only projects that we have.
Is the Chipman Farm property border Wyndham?
It does.
Oh, and then there's the,
It's on 302.
Yeah.
No, nothing official
yeah.
yet. So, but
There's a-
yeah, the Chipman Farm one, that's just a small building expansion, and we'll be discussing that next month. So, yeah, it does border the town line there with Wyndham.
So I think we have to notify, right? I think that's.
Yes, I
Yeah.
think, and I think it's within the package as well. And not to get too deep into it tonight, but I think the same property owner also owns that adjacent lot in where it's in the
Oh.
town of Wyndham as well.
The empty lot, okay. Yeah, where
Yeah,
the old water
that
sports
empty
place
one.
was?
Yep.
Yep.
So, but all for next time.
All right. Anything else?
Move to adjourn.
For a second?
I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Done.
Who owns that?